Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody joining the crew. We got just one drink that we rule them all. Hope you'll remember your thoughts. Get your Uru hammers and your needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Usually when still it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hey, I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
Your question mark sized podcast.
And the reason it's question mark is because we have no plan today.
That's right.
I know you're all shocked, but we have no plan.
But that's okay. We are masters of rabbit holes.
Yeah, well, that's also true. And
So,
Troy, the last time you were out there in the rabbit hole, we had to dig you out. It took a long time.
yeah, well, at least nobody shot me in the back of the head while I was talking about the
Also
rabbits.
true.
So,
Also true. I thought about it.
Have
but I got
any of
over
you have any of you ever eaten entire like little fish with the eyes and everything?
No.
Me neither. So Tara was at the Asian market, the Pacific market, I think it was called, and I asked her to grab me some wasabi peas because those are pretty tasty things. And I said if it has like little rice things in it, that's fine too. So she grabbed me a bag of something, and when I opened it up, I was like, "Wow, this smells a lot like fish," and it has these little tiny fish guys in it. So I'm like, I guess I'm not eating these because I'm not feeling that adventurous.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's a whole lot of nope right there.
I'm like, I'm sure there's millions of people that would eat that.
6 or 7 levels of nope.
And I was like, I want to be that adventurous. I know it won't hurt me. It's just something's preventing me from wanting to eat it. So
something being the little fish.
Little fish. Well, if it didn't have a head, and if it didn't have bones, and if it was skinned, I eat fish. I don't mind fish at all. I just the idea of eating an entire fish in its capacity as is, I don't know. So
it's like an addendum to our previous episode.
I feel like Alex and I are
true. It's true. We were talking about eating last time. I don't have a little clip thing for this. Oh well.
It doesn't matter.
I'm wondering if cats would eat it.
It's not like it's going to go bad. Well, actually, I guess really it just fill your entire basement with fish smell, and then I'll be like, something's wrong with your basement.
It smells fishy.
Something fishy going on there.
Oh, before you showed up, Guy, we were talking a little bit about Wes Anderson films. I don't know how familiar you are with this stuff.
Not that familiar with Wes Anderson. Not unfamiliar. I mean,
the name's familiar to you, at least.
Yeah, I know of Wes Anderson, Mr. Wes Anderson.
I think I got rid of the picture already. But Alex is wearing his hat, and Bill Murray has an orange version of that hat that he wears all the time in the Life Aquatic, which is
there you go. I like it better when you have it like a Smurf hat. That's even better.
That reminds me more of like Dr. Seuss, like something out of Dr. Seuss.
Cat in a hat.
Alex in a hat.
Alex in a hat. Alex in a hat. I like this a lot.
That's weird.
Sure to think about it, but I like it. Okay. So it's.
I was gonna show a picture, but I need to get it open.
It's snowing now, and
so no driving for you.
Well, yeah. Although the roads are still fine. I'm actually looking out there because that's one of the things. Is kiddo has a play date today, and I'm. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So he plays basically like an American version of Jacques Cousteau, who.
So we have Alex Cousteau down there now?
Yeah. So he's on a mission to hunt down the creature that killed one of his crew members. And that's all like explained in the first 10 minutes of a documentary showing the first half of his documentary. And of course, most people think it was faked because it's like, oh, he's not really dead. You did that for the movie, right? What are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to hunt down this creature and kill it. Well, what's the scientific reason for that? And he goes, revenge.
Fair.
But yeah. Anyway,
So,
whoops,
yeah.
close that. So you're snowing outside, and
it's snowing, and I was just noticing that.
so you're toughening up your boy, making him walk to school in the snow.
Yeah, well, that would be fun. Except it's a
Oh wait,
play
it's
date,
man.
and so
You
I
should
have
make
to
him walk there
it.
anyway. That'll
I
make him
should.
even tougher. You get there and go,
It
Dad, there's no
isn't.
school
It isn't
today."
like it's very far. It really isn't very far to
Nope.
this particular place. So
Ah.
it's over near Alex's house, actually.
So you don't even have to climb fences to get to it.
Yeah, you
Well,
don't really have to, yeah,
yeah, he could walk there.
he could.
When I was in middle school, I probably ruined 3 or 4 pairs of pants climbing fences because I didn't want to spend the extra, whatever it was, 10, 20 minutes going around. It was one of those like double-sized fences, not just like waist-high fences. But I don't think I could pull that off today. At
Pull off your pants?
Yeah,
That's a problem, man. If you
I
can't
know.
pull off your pants, you got issues.
least it keeps me out of trouble. Oh, there he goes. Yeah, I had
he's
smaller
having
feet.
issues.
They could fit in the holes.
Right? So, yeah. Kids. That's a good one. We could talk about kids. I'm like being kids.
Good morning,
I-
Forrest.
Oh, hey, Forrest. Good to see you. How are you settling in down there? I know you moved to the south side of the universe. He moved to the Springs. So
Oh, okay. Not South America.
no, although the Springs feels kind of like South America, I think.
Have
Or
you
at
ever
least
been?
that's the
Have
way
you ever
I
been to
think
South
South
America,
America
guy?
would be. I don't know.
No.
I'm trying to roll with it, and I'm not getting anywhere.
You're
I'm rolling with it much like a square wheel would. I'm
Mhm.
feeling very much like that.
some
Anyway.
things you just can't even yes and.
Right? You can't. It just gets to the point where you're like, well, that didn't go, did it?
No.
It just didn't go.
Well, we could talk about places we would never want to vacation.
Yeah, where would be a place that you'd never want a vacation, Xanderman?
Probably like Antarctica.
Dude, I would totally go to Antarctica.
Yeah, I don't think I would. There's like it to me. It would just be like I'm stuck inside in Antarctica. I could be stuck inside anywhere else. I'm in Antarctica.
You're like, why am I here? Do I really have to be here?
Take the opportunity to reshoot the thing.
I don't want to do that.
No.
Come on,
The
you guys
thing
have
was,
no
was
sense of adventure.
perfect.
Yeah, it was.
A Carpenter's thing.
Yeah, the other one. I kept wanting Ramon to pull out her big hammer from Scott Pilgrim and hit the creature with it, but same actress.
Ramon was in the thing, like the
Yeah.
new thing.
Well, that's not her actual. It's Mary.
Yeah, I know.
Elizabeth
I didn't even
Wang.
know they made a new thing.
It's a prequel. It's what takes place at the base before it gets away. Because you know how it opens.
At the base with all like the Swedes.
Yes, yeah. But of
So we
course,
got
they're speaking
kind
they're speaking English because it's supposed to be a twist, and I just spoiled it for everybody. So, but if they'd have been speaking Swedish with subtitles the entire film, then that would have at least been a feasible premise.
So we've got kind of Saudi Arabia as being no fun coming in from the motor pool.
Yeah, brutally.
Sorry, I just wanted to
brutally
acknowledge.
hot.
I
Yeah.
wanted to acknowledge Kerno here because they're posting out there, and I was just didn't.
Do you know them?
No.
Oh, okay. Hello, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, Florida. I've been to Florida a couple of times. I mean, but most of the time I go to Florida, I have a very specific mission. I mean,
To get out of
I know-
Florida? Your very specific mission is to get out of Florida.
No, it's
No.
always to go to the Cape. So I mean, like, I always have a very specific reason why I'm in Florida.
Go see the
And
rocket
I'm
ships.
always happy to be at the Cape, and I don't particularly have any desire to leave the Cape. And I'm even willing to put up with Florida for the Cape. You know, that's a thing. So, but I understand that that's extremely limited to me as a human and my character. So
There's lots of people that are just as infatuated with Disney World land. I get them mixed up. Disney World. I always forget which is on the east and which is on the west. But there are people who just that's their thing is Disney.
Okay, you're not talking about me going to Disneyland.
No.
Disney
I'm saying
because Disney World was fun, but
I'm saying people are as into Disney World as you are into the Cape. Like, we have a friend who she watches all of the special deals. She knows how to manipulate all of the fast passes. She knows all the ins and outs and all the tricks of how to do everything to get the best possible rate and enjoy as many possible rides and features compacted. It's like she has it down to a science type thing.
right.
And another friend of mine, his wife loves collecting the little, I guess there's like little crystal things or something of the characters.
There's, I mean, I know that there's totally. I just thought that I thought you were.
I'm not, yeah, not you. I know you
is.
don't care about it.
No, I mean, I do. It's fun. It is very fun to go to the Disney parks. I've now been to all three, except I haven't been. Well, I guess there's another one in Europe. I've never been to Disney Europe, but I've been to Disneyland, Disney World, and Disney Tokyo, and I love them. But you know, I'm not a ride guy. Like, I don't like roller coasters, and I don't like
but you get to sit there and watch John is his name John Sneese, the actor from Forrest Gump and
Gary Sinise.
Apollo 13. Gary Sinise. You get to see Gary Sinise talk to you before the rocket launch on the little camera in that one ride.
Brent's here.
Brent.
Yeah, Paris Disney is pretty similar to the others, says Kerno.
Yeah, that's pretty on brand. Not a surprise.
Yeah, I liked Tokyo Disney because it was cool to like weird things that were in there that were really interesting. Listening to "It's a Small World After All" in Japanese is kind of cute. That was because it's funny how close the words are. I mean, obviously that makes sense, but there's something humorous by how they're trying to shoehorn, certain phrases into the same number of syllables, and I don't know. I found that entertaining. So
I barely remember anything from Disneyland. I've been to both Disneyland and Disney World, and I even having been there, I still get them mixed up. It's Tara's family has connections with I guess it's a condo or some kind of timeshare thing out there, and so several years ago we got to go out there, and it was June or something like that, and it's like, wow, how do people not just burst into flames and die out here? And
oh yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So I've been to Florida twice because I was there pre-teen age when it was the big trip, because when you're from a poor family, it's hard to justify saving up money to take a plane out to Florida and go to Disney World.
Yeah, that's kind of sadly where we are about getting back to Japan.
And that was the time where I had my traumatic experience of being almost pulled overboard while fishing, which I don't remember if I've told that story on here or not.
No, I don't think you have.
But for some reason, it was my mom,
your mom,
yeah, my sister, and myself, and they wanted to do deep sea fishing, and it was actually out near or in the Bermuda Triangle, and which my mom afterwards,
right there, that's part of the problem.
Yeah, afterwards, my mom was like, "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to get scared." I'm like, I wouldn't, because I don't believe in stuff anyway, even at 10.
Yeah, but Flight 17, man, Flight 17.
But they strap the fishing pole to you in a harness, so that way it's an expensive fishing pole. They don't want it to get yanked into the ocean. They don't care if you get yanked in the ocean.
I was going to say, you on the other hand, doesn't matter.
Me on the other, and whatever, not whatever, I know what it was, but something caught the line and slammed me against the rails. And of course, this is kid memory, so I might be exaggerating from kid memory. I just remember at the time, it felt like it was ridiculously hard. And if it was not for the rails, I'm sure I would have gone over. And I'm screaming for help, and everybody's ignoring me. So it's like a nightmare, wherein you're in a nightmare and nobody's acknowledging your existence. And I'm screaming and screaming, and I have no idea how long it actually took. It seemed like it took like 10, 20 minutes before someone came over. Somebody finally came over and helped me reel it up, and it was this big, scary-looking black eel thingy. And they're like, "Oh, we got to throw that back." I'm like, "I don't care. I don't want to be here. I didn't ask to come here, and I don't want to be here." But yeah, that's and that might be why I don't care about fishing.
I heard on the radio the other day that fishing is apparently great for PTSD.
Unless
unless your PTSD comes from being sucked into the ocean by an eel. However, for various Iraq war vets and things like that, they're actually recommending fishing for it. Personally, like poor Ivy, I have a hard time with killing the fish. Like I empathize with the fish and I get all caught up in the fish and stuff like that. And so I don't want to deal with that part of it. So I love the idea of fishing without fishing. So like just sitting on the side of a lake, maybe sitting with your buddies on the side of the lake and chatting. That part I'm okay with. But I have a hard time.
But that makes you perfect to catch the magic fish that asks you to throw it back in the ocean for wishes, because you were already going to throw it back in the ocean anyway.
Right. See, that's a win-win right there.
My stepdad loves fishing. That's like his big thing. And so when they lived out here, I would encourage the kids to try to go fishing with him. And they would be all gung-ho about it to begin with. But then 10 minutes into it, they're like, so what's happening? What's next? And it's like, oh, we just wait. And eventually you catch something. And just like me, that attention, I want to catch fish now.
How long does that take?
Yeah, with PTSD, oftentimes being in nature and
is
doing
good
something,
for
hiking, fishing, hunting, whatever, is actually really good for people with PTSD. I've never caught anything that was edible or that was for good eating. So I've never cleaned a fish I've done lots of fishing. I find it meditative, but I've never caught anything.
Right. That totally makes sense. I just myself, I would rather just sit by a lake.
Yeah, and then
I really like though rivers. I love just sitting by a river and listening to it burble, and like watching the river go over rocks, and things like that. And I love eddies, and there's something fascinating about the way water moves. Lakes, water kind of just sits there. The lake, it doesn't do anything. So, sorry, I cut you off, Alex. I have no earthly idea what you were saying.
I was going to say that with the silver, with the fish that gives wishes. Remember, the point is that the fish gets released and doesn't give the wishes.
Yeah, I wasn't going to tell Guy that. I didn't want to spoil his.
Right, because then I wouldn't have done it. No, you're not going to give me the wish, you stupid fish. I know.
I'm going to make a gif out of that guy.
In a bucket and then carry that.
Brent says he does the catch and release.
Yeah, Brent does catch and release, which is good.
It's one of those things where that survival, that desire to want to have survival skills. I think I want to know how to catch fish and clean them, but I don't want to put the effort in learning. So it's kind of like, if I end up in a survival situation, I'll figure it out then.
Yeah. I was going to say, we're smart enough. We'll figure it out. I mean, we just don't eat it raw and, stuff like that. It's pretty straight up.
Hey, Guy, I got you this puffer fish. I cut it up for you. Here, have a bite.
It'll be fine. I just chopped it up.
Yeah, I've seen enough of movies with Benihana episodes, so I figured I'd just...
Right. We figured we could do this. We can do this thing. It's easy. Survival skills.
I was going to say, since we're rabbit hoeing, I was going to mention how Taryn made one of his first board games he made was a board game about fishing, because he knew his grandfather loved fishing. So he mentally found that connection of how to take his passion and his granddad's passion and combine the two.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
I had to throw that out there but you were about to talk about survival skills.
I was about to complain about not having survival skills, I guess. I don't know. I really had.
You have modern survival skills. You know how to go through a drive-thru and order food.
Exactly. Easy. But I mean, that's definitely. Let's be realistic here. I mean, I know that probably would be fine. But first of all, man, Alex and I would be out as soon as we had to kill a chicken. Because we'd be like, nope.
I feel like after 2 days of starvation, the bone thing would cease to bother you.
Yeah, probably after a while, the bone thing, we'd get over it quick. But
that's right.
But we'd start out with both of us like, We're gonna be vegetarians now.
We'll be like, well, at least I know that you won't be cannibals since we have bones
That's true. You guys have bones, and
for now, until you're deboned.
it's Roaring Rivers, right? Roaring Rivers. Forrest is saying that Roaring Rivers is a sound he absolutely loves.
You know what I find?
agree.
Speaking of noisy water,
Noisy water.
having this takes me back to 2005 when we made The Emperor's Daughter.
Oh
and
yeah,
we did the fight scene by the waterfall.
I
You
love
never realize until you're near a waterfall how freaking loud they are, because in movies and TV shows they're always standing right next to it having conversations.
until you try to
Until
shoot it.
yeah,
at
until you're
which
trying to
time you're
make a
like, "This
film,
sucks."
and you're still 50 feet away from the waterfall, and you're screaming like, "Do you have the right angle on the camera?"
I got so sick after that fight scene in the.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, rolling around in the cold water in October.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was brutal. That was
Yeah.
so brutal.
It's fun, but
The
yeah.
fight scenes are cool. I can't as a movie overall, it's rough because I didn't know what I was doing necessarily. But we had an awesome cinematographer. He got some great shots. He copied the Highlander thing for the time transitions and the tree swipe, and that was all in camera editing. So
Yeah.
It was really a well done piece.
and one of the actresses has gone on and has actually made Hollywood movies. She was in Tarantino's the Hollywood movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, cool.
She's one of the crazy characters that breaks into the house at the end with the redhead.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
That was our Madison.
I need to rewatch it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like now it's like, wait, that's our kid? Nice.
So I'm now 1 degree away from one degree. No,
From
1 degree is
Tarantino.
directly knowing somebody. So
Yeah.
it's 2 degrees. I'm 2 degrees away from Tarantino.
Yeah, same here. Sweet.
Right?
All of us.
Like,
All of
wait,
us.
I am too.
Yeah, you are.
I wasn't in that movie. I just produced it. Which then I yelled at Troy a lot. That's really what
Mhm.
happened.
So movies and survival skills. Any movies come to mind where you feel they accurately represented how difficult it would be to survive in certain situations?
The
'Cause I'm thinking
Martian.
of The Martian. I don't know. I've never tried to grow potatoes. I assume you can cut a potato in half and then grow another potato from it.
It actually, The Martian, as far as realism goes, The Martian's pretty good. It has one really stupid flaw, which is difficult because
Matt
it's
Damon?
the entire pivot point. Huh?
Matt Damon. Is that this?
Yeah,
the
that's
flaw?
it right
Okay.
there. No, there are dust storms on Mars. They are much more like whiteout blizzards than they are our dust storms.
Hmm.
Because it's a low atmosphere, low gravity, the dust just suspends and it just sits in the air. And then the wind just kind of picks it up and moves it. So it's much more like being in a whiteout blizzard with no wind. Just kind of that, when we have those snow where the snow is really thick and falling and it's super quiet and everything like that, that's more like what you get. It's so the whole, the wind has blown over the spacecraft thing. No, there's not enough wind to do that. That's the only part of it. But of course, that's the pivotal plot point, right? That's the whole point of the movie, is that they have to leave, otherwise the ship will be blown over. And it's like, yeah, no. But that's one of the reasons why we keep losing rovers over there on Mars, is because that it's a constant snow of dust that's always falling. And so the rovers, after a while, they just build up a constant building of dust on their solar panels, and they lose power, and then they die. And I keep wondering why they don't put windshield wipers on those things. I would. That's what I would totally do, is put windshield wipers on it.
Then it constantly have that little wiper fluid symbol is out on it.
Right. Dang it.
I'm trying to remember if the movie was called The Bear, so I'm quickly looking up No, it's not that one. So I remember this movie with Anthony Hopkins and Alec
Forrest
Baldwin.
is
I
saying
think it was
cast,
Alec
by
Baldwin.
the way.
I'm not sure, but I remember there was a scene where one of them was trying to make a trap, like cutting the wood, and critically rolls a nat one and like cuts into his own leg,
Oh yeah,
type thing.
yeah.
And it's interesting in movies when they have characters fail so miserably doing something that emulates. Yep, that happens to people in real life.
Well, that happened in Boba Fett that I thought was kind of cool.
Book of Boba Fett or Boba Fett?
Yeah, Book of Boba Fett.
I haven't watched any of Book of Boba Fett yet. So
There was a moment in there, which, you know, for spoilers' sake, I won't say.
Thank you.
But there was a moment in there where everybody dies. They're all of them, every last one of them. There you go. No, I'm just kidding. There was a moment which was like that, and I thought, huh, it's kind of cool because they didn't even play it up. You know what I mean? It happens, and then you're like, wait, that's kind of cool. You know, it was just neat. I thought it was kind of cool. There wasn't a plot point for it, really. There wasn't a need for a plot point, but I thought
Okay, I found it. It's called The Edge. The Edge.
The Edge says.
Brent said
Brent said it too. We
Brent,
found it.
Brent snagged it for you.
The Edge
Nice.
into the Leg, a film.
The edge of leg, the leg's edge.
Yeah, this is not really my wheelhouse. I mean,
Mhm.
not really into the survival thing, so I'm gonna.
No.
Mhm.
I was trying to think of
Alex is like, I survive. I carry a katana.
not just Twin Peaks stuff, but David Lynch, and the closest I'm coming to is like Blue Velvet. And when you find a severed ear, go to the police. Don't try to do the investigation yourself.
Right?
So realism in movies might not be a bad topic. You know, like,
Well, movies are meant by nature to pull you out of realism, and so the storytelling. So I think you get close. You have that fine line between documentary and movie, but you.
well, yeah, but I mean, like, Brent and I were actually just having a discussion about realism in character development. I mean, there's like a number of things where you're kind of like, well, I don't know, was that real or was that a realistic depiction of? We were discussing Star Trek in this instance, and two characters are standoffish right now in one of the series, and a lot of people are complaining about how harsh one of the characters is to the other character, and no need to go into spoilers, but I've been sitting there thinking, yeah, but and that particular character is pretty harsh on the other character. However, both those characters are very close, and they've been friends for a very long time. And I keep thinking about the fact that, like, Troy and I have had these bizarre, like, really aggravating arguments
Years
that-
ago.
Yeah, we don't anymore.
Before
because
you
just
went
agree
to
with me all the time.
Japan, we would get under each other's skins about not giving any ground on creative ideas. We would
Well,
each have a
sure.
specific way we wanted something, and
But-
neither of us would want to compromise.
But the point, yes, we don't do that anymore. The point that I'm kind of getting at, though, is that was looking back on some of those arguments. I was like, it's kind of ridiculous. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Well, I think it's realistic.
Troy was
'cause
right. I should have just gone with it. I don't know why I had to stick.
Unfortunately, I've known
my
more
ground.
than one incident where married couples have had kids and then gotten divorced, and they will use the children as they'll weaponize the children to get back at their ex or to seed. Just think, so you could be with someone for years and be good friends and even be married to them and in love, and then all of a sudden turn vindictive and evil. So it's definitely a believable character trait. If knowing the details of what's going on in Star Trek, I don't know if this is like they keep
They
pulling.
weren't married.
Okay, but they were. I
However,
don't know.
however, Brent's clarifying that it's the situation with character 3, which, you know, it's a long story. Anyway,
Okay.
I concur with you, Brent. But anyway, I've noticed that a lot of people are very upset with that particular exchange, but I've been feeling very much that exchange felt, even though it irritates me in a proper way. And I guess there are things like, we talk about Kai Wynn from Deep Space Nine, and I absolutely hate Kai Wen to the end of the earth. She is the most irritating character ever, and she's portrayed by Louise Fletcher, who played Nurse. What was it? Nurse Crankshaft or Crank? I don't remember. From One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Nurse Ratchet.
Nurse Ratchet. Thank you.
You should read
I don't
through
know
all
why
of
I'm
the
having
rules.
an issue.
Nurse Screwdriver, Nurse Flathead,
Screwdriver, wrench, crowbar, something. Anyway, it felt yeah. But with her, I absolutely despised the character Kai Wen. But I love Louise Fletcher's portrayal of Kai Wen because she made me hate Kai Wen. You know what I mean? Like, she did such a good job of making that character the correct level of politically smarmy that it was horrible, you know. But so there's like a level of portrayal where it's like, oh, that's terrible. It makes me feel bad, but I love it, you know, like. And that's what I'm feeling right now. These two characters are offset. They're fighting each other. They're mad. They're angry. Things have gone south. But I like that a whole lot better than the way it's usually portrayed. You know, you have a bad thing happen and everybody goes, oh no, the bad thing happened. Now let's get to the plot. You know what I mean? And it's like, do you care that bad thing happened? You know, whereas now we have one character that's severely PO'd because of the situation, and they're very upset at another character.
It's hard to engage not having seen the episode and know what's going on. And
I know.
and
We were talking about realism in shows,
sure.
And I'm really just saying, I know that people are kind of aggravated. I know that people feel annoyed by this particular exchange between these two characters, but to me, thinking back on it, I mean, you were just bringing up Emperor's Daughter. You and I really went rounds over Emperor's Daughter, and I walked out ultimately.
I believe I told you to leave. But that's my recollection of it.
I remember it differently.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, like,
well, I guess the question wouldn't be so much
your mutton chops are famous, Alex. Here,
the question to me would be whether or not the character is in character from what they've established. Has this character shown any type of, you know, have they been 100% loyal?
This is the second time that this character has chewed on the first character, so it is
in
totally
character,
in line. Yeah. It's absolutely in line. This character chewed on the other character in the first season, and now they're on this character again in the second season. And that's actually what people are saying is like, man, this character let up, you know. So, and I'm like, no, that's not in line with the character. It's one of those things. The character is already shown to be realistically a very emotional kind of character, very hard on their sleeve sort of person. And very dramatic on like all ranges. And so we, you know, it's one of those things where it just fits. It fits the character very well. So
before I rabbit hole away from this, I wanted to double check if Alex had anything you wanted to add to the current portion of the topic that we're on.
No.
Okay. I didn't want to see before we get 5 topics away. I wanted to make sure I was giving you a shot.
Sometimes, you know, characterization can be, you know, you don't want things to come out of left field. You want to be able to like look at it and think back and go, oh yeah, you know, that does make sense for that character to do that kind of thing, and such like. So, yeah.
Cool. I was going to say, being in character, that brings us up to something that we were talking about before we started the show. That fine line that people have to make choices when role-playing games as to what they would do versus what the character would do versus what is best for the group to enjoy the game at that point would do. Because you get these people who are like, well, I'm a rogue, I'm going to steal from everybody. It's like, yeah, but if you steal from your party members, 1, their characters are not going to be happy with you, and 2, those players are not going to be happy with you.
Right.
So for the sake of group harmony, you have to do things that you or your character wouldn't do necessarily. Or maybe you need to realign your morals for your character to better fit group harmony.
I actually have had that problem a couple of times with my character in this particular group. Not because of anything major, but because my character is, we're playing her somewhat dense.
Mhm.
And there's a couple of times where it would have been like, we're being nudged to talk about our sponsors.
Yeah. Well, I could tell Alex was going to say something on the topic too, so I want to.
No, I was going to say that Brenda's saying we should do our sponsors.
Okay.
Halfway through the show.
So being in our character and being with sponsor harmony, we should mention our sponsors.
Right. So Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and Your Mom.
In Kieran Games, I believe you can order stuff from online. So even if you're not local, you can look into their stuff. And if you're not local, you could get a home from Geekway Homes and then be local.
Right.
So there.
And then Your Mom. So there's
Bring her along too. Why not?
Bring
Unless
her
you don't
along
like her.
too. We're not picky.
Or if you don't like her, buy her home and send her out here, and then you're further away from her.
That may actually probably be more accurate, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, well, yeah. The interesting thing you're doing with that, and I sent you a link. I don't know if I have that. Did I sent it to you in Facebook, so I can look it up really quickly here because I was looking up suggestions on playing different levels of intelligence,
right,
with characters, because I'm not super familiar with the D&D aspects of that. Why is this not taking me there? Okay. Oh, I texted it to you. That's why it's not the right one.
Yeah.
But
why I haven't read it yet because I have to.
Yeah. But when I found it, because I was looking up, the character I'm playing is an IQ 10, which is average, middle of the road intelligence with wisdom 8. And the idea being just really bad socially, but not stupid. Whereas your character, you wanted to play from an aspect of not being stupid, but completely a complete foreigner.
Right. Fish out of water.
Yeah. So it's almost
so far out of water that she doesn't even have like the concepts.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking now of I don't know if you remember this really old film called The Gods Must Be Crazy.
Yes.
But the character, airplanes are giant birds or gods because they've never seen one before in their life.
And a Coke bottle could be anything.
Yeah, it's a sign from God. Yeah.
It's a sign from God.
So it's your character's not stupid. She's just completely out of touch with the culture.
Yeah.
I think the drawback is you didn't world build, because world building is hard and takes a long time, but you didn't world build her world beforehand to know what culture.
Right. So now I'm world building it now in situ.
You're improvising it through the game.
That is exactly correct.
But the thing I'd sent you had some really good explanations of like what you could and couldn't do or shouldn't do in role-playing aspects of intelligence. And I was going to find it and send it to myself so I could share it with the group. But I was looking that up because the way we're doing the thing in our role-playing group is instead of giving people just random magic items, which may or may not be, usually not useful to anybody in the group, we're saying, hey, go pick out an uncommon item.
Right.
And because then it's more enjoyable for the player to have something useful to them. And since I'm both a GM and a player in this, for the character I had, I came across something that's completely the last thing you think a barbarian would ever choose, but it's the headband of intellect. So jumping from an IQ 10 to an IQ 19. And I could see the character deciding to want something like that, although it's going to help him very little. I think it's just investigation rolls. I think investigate and maybe history rolls, which is not a barbarian strong point to begin with. But it gave me a chance to drastically change how the character is role played, because now he has to do this, and now he's like, I don't want to go back. So how do I make this permanent?
Just a clarification, the game that we're playing, it's like a 9-person game, and we 8, and so like
8 players.
At least half of the players, Troy's sort of like the showrunner, and 3 other players, including Guy and myself, have taken up GMing responsibilities at different times as well. So it's not just like Troy's like, and now my character does this really cool thing,
right?
Yeah. It occurs to me, you just said world building. and I thought about this now, and now that I think about it, I yes, I wasn't world building because it would have been complicated, but I wouldn't mind world building. I just the world was built by my wife,
I
and
think,
so I didn't
I
want
think a
to.
lot of Nevernight already exists too, so it's something you could
Right.
look into.
So I didn't want to step too far into that because there's a whole bunch of already existing lore that I would have had to have, or
So I guess it's really the more accurate thing to say for me then would have been that you just need to go back and dig up what exists
yeah.
and just try to
And
shape it
probably
slightly.
more accurately, what I need to do is come up with what's Ivy's backstory, because I could probably write enough of a backstory that makes logical sense that she's missing a lot of pieces. Um, I had said at some point in time during there that she'd spent a lot of time as somebody's slave or as somebody, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there was a lot of dark, ugly that she went through. So that could explain a lot of her ineptitude, even if the alternate universe thing is not quite as different a world that she, to explain why she's critically out there. So definitely something to think about.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, yeah,
But getting back to the in character, then that would just be when somebody's role playing. I think it's interesting. I think that should be a session zero thing that, frankly, that I need to get back to is when you have that before the game to say to people, you need to have a tier of like, remember when you're deciding things, always think of group harmony first and then work your way down. And if there's going to be disharmony in the group, it's something that should be discussed outside of game with the player that the disharmony is going to be with and the GM, I would think.
right.
Like some, I can't remember, one character stole something from another character. I wasn't part of this game, but it was the Starfinder game or Path. Yeah,
Mhm.
Starfinder game. Somebody stole something from someone and caused some out of group just I can't remember who it was. Somebody stole a toe of a robot or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if any of that's sounding
that was
familiar.
that was a good example of agency. We talk a
Mhm.
lot about agency and giving the players agency, but players have to give each other agency as well. And
Right.
so I feel like that's one of the things that kind of happened. In that one was a good example of that. We had a new player, and they hadn't played before, but were very excited to play. And they were still learning, as we all kind of have to in the very beginning, to separate in-game, out-of-game sort of things, like separate your world from the character's world. Um, or they weren't very good at yes anding at that point. And so that was part of the problem. Was one of our characters decided to it actually was sort of a tit for tat. We had a lot of that kind of stuff going on. The character that was doing this decided that they were going to do something to pilot the ship, and the other character, being the engineer, decided that that's not what they wanted to have happen. So they turned off the engine, and the pilot went and turned on the engine, and sort of thing. And then the engineer closed all the doors to the engineering room. You know what I mean? Kind of that kind of. And so then the engineer, being a Yasukoi, which is like a rat, climbed through all the ducts, got into the engineering, turned on the engine, and then stole the first character's toe as sort of a, you know, insult thing. But see you
Bye,
later, Brent.
Brent.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what was going on, but it was, again, neither character had agreed to do this, so it wasn't a fun scene. You know what I mean? Like there was no agency between either one of these characters. And ultimately, I was the GM. Ultimately, I had to step in and say, okay, none of this is happening. This can't go on. Because actually, this all happened. The worst part about the whole thing was this all happened on break. So we had taken a break in the game. But one of the problems that the character who was most offended, one of the problems that they had was they didn't understand what the role of the GM was. So they oftentimes would run scenes without the GM.
Hmm.
So that was part of the problem, was they had started this scene, and the other character, who was an experienced role player, by the way, the other player got into it and was playing the scene out before I got back from the bathroom. And so all of this happened while I was in the bathroom.
Right.
And
What were you
I
gonna
came
say,
back and
Alex?
said, none of this can happen.
Yeah, on some of that, it's sort of like the old chestnut. Your rights end where mine begin.
Yeah.
And so there was definitely some overreach.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like, I don't know, instead of saying, it's like you need to have, your character has, as a player or as a character, you have to care about group cohesion. Like the way that I usually phrase that is like, your character needs a reason to be with the group.
Yeah, that's the way I say it.
And if your
You
parent
can't build a character that does not have a reason to be there.
doesn't have a reason to be with the group, then why are you with the group? And
Right.
And why don't you just leave at the first opportunity, or why don't they just kick you out at the first opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
Which is where we are with your character right now, which is the way I kind of feel in the way of our game. That's where we are.
Gonna kick Gerard out?
No, but you have to have a reason to get Gerard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we're discussing whether we should just abandon Gerard. Well, for the cohesion of the game, that's ridiculous. Don't
Mhm.
abandon Gerard.
Well, the group is large enough that those who want to go do something about it can go do something about it, and those who don't have to.
Yeah.
And especially if we have I understand that one of the characters was poo-pooing the go get Gerard thing. It's like is a lawfully aligned character in D&D, but it's also like we didn't say we're going to go and like blow up the castle and in the chaos and bloodshed go get Gerard out of jail and then fight our way across the continent back to Waterdeep. It's like, how about we go there and like get a lawyer?
Have you met our team?
And then, whoa! I don't want to get somebody mad at me because I dared to get a lawyer for a friend of mine. That's what I'm taking. I'm like, really?
So
Okay.
this brings up an interesting question regarding to lawful, particularly lawful good. I'm double checking, but I'm pretty sure you're correct on that alignment. Is not every city has the same laws, and by some cities' standards, another city's laws would be unlawful or not just. So when you're a paladin who's lawful good, it seems like you should still be able to hold other lawful good characters and cities and such in question if their choices of how they do things aren't. Because I actually don't know how much you've read of Suzel before you chose Suzel as the one town.
No, that I just know that's the capital and of the most French part of
Okay.
the Forgotten Realm.
It's harsh. they're very strict with their laws, and it's like borderline. If I was
Draconian.
If I was the one who was there when they were creating the city, and I'd say, so are you sure this is lawful good? Because this is borderline crossing that line over to evil, type thing. Because when you get into capital punishment, that and now it becomes real world questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, it's at what point past a crime or how severe does that crime need to be to actually justify killing somebody or cutting their hands off? Because they do the whole thief thing where if you're caught stealing, they cut your hand off, type thing. And it's like, to me, that's evil. That's not you're no longer good. But because that's how that city was built, in their eyes, they're lawful good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, a paladin from Neverwinter or Waterdeep, or a cleric even, would go, well, wait a minute, this person's going somewhere that's basically evil. So I shouldn't be afraid to go make enemies of these people. So it's so yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a maybe Valeria is scared of taking on an enemy too big. Might be what it is. Because I mean, it's like I don't want to upset an entire kingdom. Like, well, they're 2 months away. by foot. So that's far enough away. If you upset them and get back, then you're probably okay. But there's just a lot of stuff that the group doesn't know yet. But they have enough clues that they've gone from level 1 to level 6 with Gerard, most of them. And that should be enough time and enough adventuring to fill a bond to at least want to go see the process of what's happening. And if there's an opportunity to help, and whether it's breaking Gerard free or throwing some goad at a lawyer.
No, I like looking at it. Like I did not look that part up of Suzail.
Okay.
And I can rationalize that with Gerard, because Gerard grew up being upper middle class.
Yes.
Slash lower noble class. So, and also Gerard is very young. During this year in game time of adventuring we've done, Gerard probably turned 18. And so
I think I was surprised by how young Gerard is.
Yeah, I based this character off a historical figure, and that historical figure's first sexual escapades that are recorded were when they were 14, and then they stayed in Versailles for a couple of years before leaving, and then say 3-6 months with the monastery, the nunnery, and all that, and then adventuring after that. So I'm saying, like Gerard is, if not 18, then almost 18 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's also that youth of like, and just that not cluing into just how bad it could be going back home.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Well, and it definitely fits, because they do have different standards of laws based on where you fall within the nobility line. And it's so when I was reading it, I'm like, oh, it totally makes sense that Gerard would not have put any of this together, because Gerard didn't grow up poor and see the opposite side of where the line of justice is drawn with this.
Right.
So yeah, it's been fun for me, because I suspected you didn't know.
Right.
But then the question came up within the group. It's like, well, Alex does a lot of research and he reads a lot. He could know. I'm like, it's true. I'm not going to bet money on it that he doesn't know what he got himself into, but I'm thinking he doesn't know anything about Suzail. Right. But reading up on it, I'm like, wow, this adventure is writing itself. Just reading the history of it and knowing where you put yourself in it.
Right. I was telling Guy that I have an inkling of what's going to happen, and Gerard is audacious and daring, and Gerard is going to insult them mightily.
It's about to be time.
We saw this foreshadowed with what went down in the murder mystery with those, because it's like and you're like, here's how I deal with this situation.
Yeah. We're
going to sit at dinner table and I'm going to just destroy you verbally and socially.
Don't you have vicious mockery, right? I mean,
yes.
Gerard,
Gerard is not going to. Yeah, I do have this. Gerard has the spell, but no, I mean, like in case there's like gonna be like deposition or courtly thing, and some of this was going to happen, Gerard's gonna be like, "You're imbecile. You're idiots." Like you did, like I know you've been watching us. The one with the horns. She's an imbecile. You know this, and she thought of this, and you didn't.
Yeah, it's not vicious mockery is straight up combat attack. This is more like
I'm just saying that I feel like that makes some logical sense with Gerard.
Yeah, this is more like
having a hard time trying to employ it, of course, with Ivy, because she's not vicious at all.
Well, in her way, she straight up doesn't do the social vicious mockery. She does straight up combat vicious mockery. So she's tapping into the magic, not.
But I'm talking about whenever you put it
in order to use the insults and everything effectively. I think that Ivy would need to have a better handle on what is normal, what is looked down upon, etc.
I think I would rule that her vicious mockery comes out by just causing mass confusion. It confuses them so much it hurts.
Right? That works too.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what I was trying to get to, was I could see Gerard's vicious mockery coming out as biting, silver-tongued sort of snipes that you're like, oh man, that hurt. You know, like I would argue with you, but looking at your clothes, man, I can tell it's just not a fair fight, and stuff like that, like just snapping people and stuff like that. Whereas you're right, Ivy's vicious mockery would have to come out as, but if you eat a fish while trying to wear trousers, does that, you're like, what the hell is she saying?
Right. I see Gerard being more like that insult monologue in Cyrano.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with the nose and that. So.
The nose.
Oh wow, we managed to rabbit hole
all of
all
our
the way up to
time
there. Yeah.
talking about vicious mockery. That's a good spell. So
what was that,
but
Alex?
that is.
No, I was saying
Gee,
that,
look at the time.
if we have a player who like doesn't want to go on the adventure arc, then they on the adventure arc. I mean, I'm not GMing right now, so it's not up to me to try to figure out what's going on there.
No, actually, I think that's perfectly appropriate. I mean, obviously, we can continue talking about this in green room after this.
That's true. We can.
That's true. Well, I'd like to thank Forrest and Kerno and Brent for joining us. Those are the faces that we saw on here. And then, of course,
also
all those
remember, you can always type
shadows
into these. We can read all of them and respond, so we can see them in our sidebar. So if you type into the comment section of any of the above, we can read them. So, but thank you for all joining us. And
you can also message us on Facebook if you want to tell us anything there for like future shows and such.
Future shows. If you have any ideas or anything like that you think would be great to do, just give us a holler. But sadly, that's all the time we have for today. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
I'm not ready yet. Say it again.
This is still Geek Tank.